Hola a todos, hi everyone. Welcome back to my channel, MetaFit MetaMind, and here we are in Carlita's Diaries. So for those of you that don't know me, my name is Carla Rodriguez, and I'm actually a coach, a trainer of NLP, and I certify coaches to become coaches and practitioners of neuro-linguistic programming. As well as I have been a doula, have attended many births, and in this time, I'm currently pregnant. So I have been a little behind on these videos, but I promise you that I'm catching up as there has been so many things going on. So if you follow me already, thank you so much. And if you're new to the channel, please make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and just stay up to date to any updates and things I have on coaching, on emotions, on just personal lifestyle life that is going on in Carlita's world. So that's why this is called Carlita's Diaries. Also, one more thing that I forgot to mention is that I host a podcast called MetaFit MetaMind Podcast. So just, go and listen if you want to. I would appreciate it. Any support helps. And yeah, so now that is the end of my intro. And so now what I want to talk about, as you see in this title, is weeks 8 through 12 of my pregnancy. As you may have seen in the previous video that I'll link somewhere here on this video, I talked about the finding out about pregnancy even a little bit before that, up to the end of the 7th week into the 8th week, which was a little rough in the beginning, just the way I found out, the symptoms that have been going on and things like that. So now I want to talk about my symptoms and how things have been and progressed in weeks 8 through 12. So it has been a lot more weeks since weeks 8 through 12. I will give you another update in another video. But I want to more talk about this video to not make it too long, because I always find that I do best when I find these videos that are short and sweet but with a lot of detail. And I just want to continue to share and provide more resources, more information for others to have, because not one pregnancy is the same. And as a doula, I knew that mentally, intellectually, consciously, but as I've been experiencing this, it's been very interesting, very different. And I've said that I'm a student of this journey as well. So even though I've assisted and supported families welcoming their new babies, and along up to that point of welcoming their new baby and a few weeks after that, I've never been part of the process from the very beginning, except for a couple of my friends and my sister-in-law, but that's different. And so that's why I want to do these videos, to remember what was going on, to hopefully give some insight and some support, some community to some of you, and just to continue to have these conversations. And along the way, to talk a little bit about the emotions that come with the symptoms, because emotions are something I love to talk about, and it is very important, as our hormones, as women, as us who are having and carrying these kids, they're just going everywhere, right? And so our body is trying to keep up already. We're already trying to keep up with what can I eat, what can I not eat, all of those things. So let me start with week 8. At the end of week 7, that was very interesting times, and I didn't really have too much nausea those beginning times. What I did notice a lot up to now, up to the 8th week, was just tiredness, like really heavy sleepiness, no energy, like all that mental fog. Now we go into the 8th week. And on this 8th week, I was like, cool, we're going on to another portion of this pregnancy, still in the first trimester, because this is still part of the first trimester. And we chose not to announce our pregnancy until after our first trimester was done. Did we announce it to our moms? Yes, we did. That was literally 3 days after I found out, 1 day after my husband found out, after I told him. And so that was very exciting times. But I made my mom and my mother-in-law promise to not say anything to anybody. And they both said, whoa, like, can we really do that? Especially because my mother-in-law is very close to her family and to her sisters. And I said, well, this is a challenge for you, right? So anyway, what I started to notice on this 8th week was that my cramps still were happening, mainly on my left side for some reason. I'm not sure why it was a left side. I feel like every time I am about to get my period, I have like the feeling of ovulating or something, or like, hey, this is about to happen. And it's always been on my left side. So I don't know if that was a pattern, but that was one of the continuing symptoms through the beginning. Now, the other annoying thing, which last time I said it was TMI, but it's for information for you, because most of the time you read online on forums that as pregnancy our digestive system slows down, so we may experience constipation. But for me, it was the opposite. So I was experiencing still loose stools or diarrhea. And that was something that worried me a little bit, because I said, why am I not constipated? But this is happening. And I had this stupid thought and idea, like, is this going to cause my baby to come out? It was one of those that, you know, we start to create ideas and stories in our head, and that was one of them. And so if these ideas and stories come up, just know that it can be normal, and we will probably worry a little bit in the beginning, like, let me make sure, because we don't feel the pregnancy in the beginning. 8th week, I was spotting on and off. It wasn't crazy, but it was still like bright red. But it also wasn't to where, like most people would say, I wasn't filling pads, I wasn't having to change constantly. It was literally just when I would probably have to go pee or urinate, and that's it. It wasn't a thing of throughout the day, but it was still something that was happening, and I had like really to be aware of. And so what my mom told me, and even my mother-in-law told me in these days, I don't know if this old wives or just traditional thing to know, they told me to lie down on the bed and put my feet up on somewhere higher. And so I did that for a little bit, and I think it helped. So that was another one. The other annoying thing was that I was talking about I didn't have a lot of nausea, was that this is when a little bit of nausea started to happen. But the thing about my nausea was that it wasn't like an every morning thing. It wasn't like your morning sickness like most people would say. I wasn't waking up and running to the bathroom immediately. It was more of a situation in which if my stomach felt empty, I had the necessity or the have to run to the bathroom with the nausea. It was such a weird thing. So during these times, I would go to bed, but before I went to bed, I would make me a toast with peanut butter, or I would just literally have a peanut butter tub with a spoon and I'd just have a spoonful or two of peanut butter. And to be honest, that helped me so much from when I was waking up at night to go to the bathroom, or even from helping me feel super empty the next morning that I was waking up. And so my nausea was not necessarily like the morning sickness, but it was more of the hunger sickness. My body was like, hey, get me some food or I'm gonna make you feel like this. And it didn't feel comfortable, but once I got some food in my system, then the nausea would go away, or it would dissipate. So that was the other thing. During this time, I actually flew to Utah from January, like the 24th or something, to the 30th. That was like that last week of January. And it was really great to be in a different environment. I went to a retreat with a team that I was working with, and it was a time in which honestly I'm super grateful because I didn't have to cook. They all eat very healthy, very holistic. We had chicken soup with all kinds of veggies, who knows what kind of tea, fruits. We had all kinds of like good healthy organic, like nuts, peanuts, almonds. They made some kind of like beef something that was super healthy, like all these like food that I was taking care of. So I don't know if that also helped with my nausea not feeling so terrible. And so like I said, while I was there, I think maybe I felt out of that whole week maybe 3 times where I felt nauseous. Oh, the one symptom that I had was the other part was the food aversion though. There was certain foods that I could not deal with. I'm one person to love salmon, and I have not liked salmon at all during this pregnancy. The smell of it, the taste of it, just the thought of it is just like ugh. And it's gotten better. And so sometimes when they would cook during this retreat, I literally would grab a lime and I would like suck on that, or even orange. Anything citrusy was helping me to dissipate and just smell the citrus smell, because it was just like so strong. Like my nose was a detective of who knows what, like all the ingredients in food. And so that was a very interesting 2 weeks, weeks 8 and 9, when that happened. And the other thing, I'll tell you my little worry also during this time, was that when I was flying in the plane, in my mind I was like, is this pressure okay? It's safe, yo. But this is a thought that was going in my head, because I became a great storyteller during this pregnancy, as far as like the stories and the things that are going on in my head. And so the last thing that I started to experience during this time was acne. But it wasn't like terrible acne, but it was acne where I've never experienced acne before on my face. So normally I would experience acne here, like in this, what is it, the T section that most people talk about. I don't know too much about makeup. And so the difference here was that I started to experience acne on my cheeks, and like even more on my chin. I have a little bit right now, but it hasn't been like horrible. It's just like in different places where I did not experience acne before. So that's week 8. And on week 8, and I'm looking down because I'm looking at my notes here. On week 8, the baby was the size of a kidney bean, which I thought was really cool. It's like tiny, like how can that little thing be in here? So that's what happened. The whole time, by the way, it's been hard for me to like catch my breath. Not that it's hard to breathe, but I gotta breathe more. I don't know. That's just one of those things. All right, week 9. Similar symptoms from that previous week. Fatigue was a big one. Actually, one of the sessions that we had during the retreat, I fell asleep through the session. They didn't bother me because they knew, but it was just kind of like super sleepy. Like I didn't hear anything. Now this week, actually, the opposite happened, and I started to experience a little bit of constipation. I was like, oh, okay, my stomach is getting better. Weirdly enough, I was connecting constipation to improvement of my gut and stuff, or my digestive system. And then the other thing, because of the fatigue, I had a lot of mental fog. Like normally I'm a great idea, creative person, and there was nothing was happening. The motivation was lacking, and I found it challenging because there's a lot of things that I'm creating and making this year, and I needed January, right, to have a lot of this stuff happen. But that's what happened. Those were just a few different things as far as the symptoms, some of the previous symptoms, but also the change in my digestive system, as well as the mental fog that took place. Then the next week, week 10, I started to again experience tender breasts. Like my boobs are hurting so bad, especially when it's cold. I don't know if I was like an on and off type of thing, that, you know, our breasts are changing, they're growing. I don't know if you know this, but our ducts start to produce milk from your whole pregnancy. And so our body, our hormones are starting to prepare for all of that. And so they were hurting again. I had not felt the pain in a couple weeks, and that was just interesting to me. And then the other thing was that this week I had more energy, some more energy, not a lot. I could still sleep a lot during the day, not necessarily at night, because insomnia was one of my symptoms where I woke up like 4 times or something, or 3 times at night. But I would say also because of the cramps from the beginning. They have changed though, they're not cramps anymore. So I was gaining a little bit more energy, like a little more excitement. But this is still week 10. This is still in the first trimester, and so everybody has asked me like, how do you feel now? Do you have you experienced morning sickness? Don't keep asking someone. Let me just kind of like FYI, or what would you say, a PSA. Don't ask, or maybe try to avoid a pregnancy question of, have you had morning sickness? Do you still experience morning sickness? Because some of us didn't experience it the same way as others. So just maybe ask like, hey, how have your symptoms improved? Or how has your pregnancy journey been so far, right? A question that doesn't make us think about the time in which we may have experienced either morning sickness or some like really annoying symptom, because, you know, we want to enjoy pregnancy. and the symptoms don't help in the beginning to really enjoy it. But if we can think of like, oh yeah, I'm getting better, or I'm improving, or yeah, that was tough, but here I am now, right? It's the next week. I can't wait for the following week. So that's what I had been thinking about this whole time, was because I was still experiencing these cramps. And my sister told me, hey, they'll probably go away by the end of your first trimester. So I was trying to I'm looking forward the end of this first trimester and moving into the second trimester, because these cramps will have gone away. That was my thought. So those were a couple of things during this week 10, and just kind of a PSA on questions you can ask. Week 11 came up, and week 11 was exciting because, oh, actually I didn't talk about this. Before week 11, the previous week, on the 10th week, we actually had our first prenatal appointment. That was a long appointment with our midwife. And yes, I am going with midwives. I have chosen to follow my journey through a birth center. So my goal is to give birth at the birth center, which is not a hospital, but it's not at home. You could say it's the middle ground of having an expert in the medical space, but also having a more natural approach to your pregnancy and to birth, having informed choice, and just not having to rely on the full hospital medications and things like that, because I've always had this goal and this dream to go as natural as possible. The other thing that most people get surprised about, and I don't think I've shared this before, is that I've chosen, and my husband and I have chosen, not to find out the sex of our baby until our baby is born, which is really exciting for us, because honestly the surprise is here, sharing with you, right? Sharing with our family and our friends, hey, we're pregnant, and then they all tell me, finally, right? Because they all were asking me when. I wasn't sure, and so here we are. So yeah, so we had our first prenatal, which was really exciting. We got to hear the heartbeat again. The baby's heart rate was at like 140s, 150s, something like that. And that week, I also started to do classes through a really great resource here in Austin called True Care. And they provide prenatal and baby classes for you. So if you are anywhere in the area, I will provide resource links or something below if you just found you're pregnant, or if you want to test as well. There's some great centers here to give you support. So that's what happened on that 10th week. The 11th week, I actually, sadly enough, I had a dentist appointment because I was told by the midwife, hey, make an appointment with your dentist, because that's part of your health, is you got to take care of your dentistry and your dental health, so your baby can also be healthy, because all of the bacteria and the germs, this is like an entryway. So that was not a comfortable appointment. There was a lot of work done on my right side of my mouth, not only a deep clean, but some other stuff, and it was not comfortable. I will be honest about that. But in my head, I was like, okay, this is for my health, but not just for my health, but for my baby. And you know what? The dentists were so great. The actual main dentist who worked on me came up to the front, to the waiting room, and he is like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We got the permission letter from your midwives that we're able to do local anesthetic for this deep work that we're going to do, and we just want to make sure that you know that it's going to be safe. We're going to cover you up with whatever. So I found that really helpful and very reassuring when you find a dentistry like that, that they literally came up to the front and talked to me about this. Now, week 11, which was this week that I went to the dentist, I did start having cravings again. Sadly, I had dental work done, but I was eating a little more again. The food aversions were going away. I was craving a lot of Chipotle for some reason. I wanted Chipotle all the time, if I could, during lunch, maybe dinner. I was eating breakfast again, so I was able to finally reintroduce eggs, because that was one that I was having a hard time. So I was having like egg and toast, or like an egg sandwich with some bacon, and just making sure that was cooked well. So that was really nice to be able to be eating again, because the first 8-10 weeks I lost about 7 to 10 pounds because of the food aversions, a little bit of the insomnia. So here I was gaining a little bit of that weight back, and now I crave all the time. So I'm like way ahead in these weeks. If you're wondering, I will give you a hint on the next video how many weeks I am. So insomnia was one that was starting to onset a little more, and bloating started to happen a little more. So in the beginning of pregnancy, you know that you're pregnant, but you don't feel pregnant. And then there's all of a sudden a moment which, boom, you feel this blow, and you're like, you look down, you're like, whoa, I have a belly. And my sister-in-law one time, she was coming up the stairs, she's like, whoa, I see your belly. I was like, I know, it's crazy. It was literally a bloat. I don't know if it was the slower digestive system or what it was, but it honestly like happens. It's like you blink and there it is, and then you blink and it's not there again. Oh, and constipation again. So, you know, those are some of the common things. The cramps started to die down a little bit. This was the week that I started going to chiropractor again. And if you do go to a chiropractor during your pregnancy. It's actually recommended, not by me, by chiropractors. And make sure that they are well versed and experts in the Webster method. I may have butchered that, but they have a specific training to work in the prenatal time. Now, the last week, week 12, so this is going to be the end of this first trimester, which is really exciting because you're like, whoa, I finally am here. I'm getting through those rough patches, you know, that are just, they're rough, right? But you have to stay positive in this time. Avoid going into the fear spaces. Avoid going into the full storytelling, like I heard this story from somebody else and what if this happens to me, right? That doesn't put us in a good space, in a good energy level. Our babies, like, although they can't hear us, I think at this time, they sense everything. Our cells are ingrained with cells from previous generations, right? There's a book called It Didn't Start With You. Look into it if you haven't read it. And it starts about how our traumas didn't start necessarily with us. There's things even before us. It's a resource. You can take this one or leave this one. I'll put the link below as well. But this is week 12, and on this week, the baby's the size of a lime. That's crazy, right? Going from a kidney bean at week 8 to the size of a lime, right? In week 8, you already hear the heartbeat. They're, you know, creating all their systems, where organs, brains, hearts, all these things are going to go. Like the genetic code is already there if it's going to be boy or girl too. So week 12 is a exciting week. It's a very exciting week. You know, just like, yes, let's start this week, let's complete this week, like let's get through this last week of this first trimester and let's start the new trimester, like let's go. And so most of my symptoms were the same. The only different one was that, again, I had on and off spotting. I had not had it for, I want to say, a couple weeks. And again, I was wondering, like, why do I have spotting again? It was bright red, but it wasn't all day thing once again. And so I said, okay, I'm just going to note that and just make sure in case I need to call the midwife or anything, right? So it was, and me as a doula, I know that this could happen. So those were the symptoms during weeks 8 through 12. Very exciting time, completing the 8th week and just honestly getting through this first part of pregnancy, the first 3 months of pregnancy. So hopefully this video helps you. There's a lot of more that goes on, but just remember to stay committed to your body, to your health. That if you go into these stories, there's always resources, people that you can talk to. Find a doula if you need to. Find resources locally to you that can help you with the questions that you may have. Talk to your provider. Maybe they have the resources as well. And so, yeah, like now I'm in the 2nd trimester. So yes, I am there. And I will be talking about the next 13, what is it? Week 13 to 16, I believe, of this 2nd trimester, and then so on. I like to split it into 4 weeks so you can have a good little amount of content, but also to where it's not too overwhelming. But as you may have noticed, most of my symptoms were pretty similar, the same, constant. By week 12, the cramps definitely dissipated, and I was finally not waking up 4 times a week, or not 4 times a week, oh my god, 4 times a night. It was just, I want to say, like, it went down to like 1 or 2 times a night. And during this time, I did get a pregnancy pillow. I'll put the link below on which one I got, which I have loved. It's helped me a lot just to find a better way to sleep comfortably when I can sleep. And yeah, so hopefully this video, like I said, helps you. Let me know how your first 8 to 12 weeks have been. You know, when are you due, if you want to share that, and you know, any questions, comments, things that you just want to share. Like, this is about community again. Collaboration is something that's very important, and just to like continue to stay strong, positive, healthy during our journeys, because they're all different, and you know, we can all celebrate together. So yeah, so thank you for watching this. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it as well. So with that being said, I hope to see you in the next video. So till next time.